The Volkswagen Golf GTI sets the benchmark for hot hatches, but can the new 2015 Ford Focus ST knock it off its pedestal? The 2015 Focus ST gets an updated look inside and out, as well as some new technology. But will that be enough to knock off the Golf GTI? Let's see how the pair stack up. The Golf starts at a $3,000 price disadvantage, but fortunately there's plenty of gear for the money. 18-inch alloy wheels, front and rear parking sensors, reversing camera, tartan trim sport seats, dual zone air conditioning and a 5.8-inch touchscreen for the infotainment system that includes Bluetooth and an 8-speaker stereo are just some of the standard gear. The GTI also gets VW's adaptive chassis control that includes adaptive dampers to help justify its price premium, but more on that later. The 2015 Focus ST is $700 more expensive than the outgoing model. Changes for the new model include a new look front end with slimmer bi-xenon headlights and a more sculpted bonnet, as well as the introduction of Ford's Sync 2 infotainment system. The new Sync includes control of navigation and Bluetooth streaming. Other standard gear remains, including a reversing camera and rear parking sensors, as well as keyless entry and ignition. Verdict: its price advantage and its generous equipment levels give the win to the Ford. The Golf really does set the benchmark for hot hatch interiors. It's got some traditional touches like the tartan seats and the dimpled golf ball style gear shift, but it's also filled with the latest technology from Volkswagen, being based on the current generation Golf. So it feels sporty, this leather lined flat bottom steering wheel, the seats are nice and supportive, but it also feels easy to live with and practical on a day-to-day basis, which is just what you want in a hot hatch. Now, the interior was one of the areas that came in for criticism with the old Focus ST. There were too many buttons, it was too busy, and there was too much hard, cheaper plastic. For this new model, Ford has improved. The addition of Sync 2 takes away a lot of those buttons because the functionality is now in the touchscreen. And to be honest, it's actually a more user-friendly system than the Golf. It's a bigger screen for starters, but it's also just a simpler, easy to use system, and it has got voice command, which is another helpful addition. There are some pluses on the interior. These seats, these Recaro seats, are really supportive, but again, they come with these body colour matched inserts, in this case bright yellow, which will not be to everyone's taste, but they are really, really supportive. The more mature design and comfortable seats means the Volkswagen triumphs in this contest. The GTI may be giving away more than 20 kilowatts of power to the ST on paper, but it more than makes up for it in refinement and drivability in the real world. I mean, one of the strengths of the GTI has always been its drivability, its ability to get the power from the engine to the road. And by not over-endowing it with power, it actually makes it an easier car to live with on a day-to-day basis, and it's easy to extract that performance from it. You're not always constantly fighting to get that power to the road. In our most recent testing with the old Focus ST, the Golf, even though it has less power, was actually faster on the 0 to 100 sprint. The Golf actually uses almost a litre less per 100 k's of fuel, which will add up big time over the course of a year. As good as the GTI engine is, there's no denying that this Focus ST motor is a cracker. 184 kilowatts of power is nothing to sniff at in a hot hatch. It sounds great. It's really flexible across the rev range. It's nicely made it to this 6-speed manual. And so it just feels like a really willing engine. Now look, trying to put that much power through the front wheels can be a challenge sometimes. It does lack that drivability of the GTI, and it does use more fuel, but it is a really, really grunty engine. Verdict: while the Golf may be weaker on paper, it doesn't feel it in the real world and uses significantly less fuel, so the VW wins this round. The Golf is the great all-rounder. That's what's made the GTI the hot hatch benchmark for so long. It's an easy car to live with day to day, but get into some twisty roads like these and it really comes alive. It's a really engaging and playful car to drive. It's got great steering, the brakes are nice and strong, and one of the big advantages the GTI has over the Focus ST is Volkswagen's adaptive chassis control, which allows you with the press of a button to change the dampers for either more responsiveness or more comfort depending on the condition. There was no questioning that the old Focus ST was a really fun car to drive. For this 2015 model, they redesigned the front suspension, but with an eye to actually improve the dynamics, which really wasn't a weakness in the first place. But they've actually made it an even more engaging car to drive. The steering is still razor sharp, which is one of the great highlights of the old cars. Is steering is just so direct. As soon as you turn the wheel, it responds immediately, which is just so fun and makes it a really engaging hot hatch to drive. But it hasn't really made it any more livable. Now, one thing that hasn't changed for the 2015 ST is it still is manual only, unlike the GTI, which can be had with a dual clutch auto. Now, for hot hatch purists, that's probably not a bad thing because you want to be able to shift yourself. But if you just want a hot hatch you can drive to and from work every day and then have some fun on the weekends, the fact that you've got to shuffle the gears yourself might be a big turn-off. Hard to split the pair on thrills, but the VW's superior manners across a variety of conditions gives it the edge. Ford has unquestionably improved the Focus ST. It looks sharper inside and out, but still has that great engine and engaging drive. But the Golf GTI is just as fast, just as fun, and more easy to live with on a day-to-day basis. It really is the great all-rounder and continues to set the benchmark in the hot hatch class.